Hey guys, Randy from CBI in Prinzu. Today we're working on a 2020 ZR2 Chevy Colorado Duramax diesel. We're going to be installing our brand new CBI leveling kit on the front end. The leveling kit's going to work from years from 15 to 22. It works for all Colorados and Canyons. So first step is we're going to take these front wheels off and then we're going to get going. So let's jump into that. Alright guys, we got this left front wheel off. We're just going to go over a couple of the tools you'll need. So first things first, you're going to need a metric socket set all the way from 10 millimeter up to 21 millimeter. You're going to need a 6 millimeter Allen head for that sway bar link. Another set of metric wrenches. Ratcheting wrenches are easier, but you can use just regular box end. I'm going to be using an impact gun for ease, and you're going to need some thread locker for a couple of the bolts. So we're going to jump right into it. All right guys, so next step after you get this front wheel off, you're going to want to get this ABS wire out of the way so you don't nick it in the process of doing anything. So you're going to need a flathead screwdriver. Come in here. Pop that out. And your ABS wire will come loose. And that'll give you enough room to drop that whole assembly down and pull your strut out. All right guys, right after taking that ABS wire off, we're gonna go ahead and take this sway bar end link out, and then we're gonna loosen up this mount right here, just to give you a little wiggle room to get this strut tower out. All right, so the next step is to take this bracket out for the ABS wire. This is mainly just so you can get your bolt up there to unloosen the ball joint. So we'll get the camera just a little closer here and get a close up so we can see what we're doing. So we've got this bracket off for the ABS wire. What we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and just loosen this ball joint bolt, and then we'll take the tie rod off, and then we'll continue taking this out. You just want to crack that with the tie rod on to give you enough leverage to be able to pull that, break it loose. All right, so we've got this ball joint upper nut loose. We're about ready to take this tie rod out. One simple trick, if you can't get this out, you can take a hammer and just lightly tap on the side of the housing here. Same with the ball joint to get that to release. So we've got the steering knuckle down, ball joint is loose, tie rod is loose. Next step after that is actually dropping the strut tower down. Up top you have 3 18 millimeter bolts. I do recommend taking the first 2 bolts out first and then getting the back bolt, and it will drop down, and then we can get this strut tower out. All right, so next, after you get these top 3 bolts off, you're gonna take the 2 bottom bolts out right here, and then the whole strut tower should come right out. All right guys, so here we have the all new CBI leveling kit. You're just gonna put this on top of the strut tower on these studs. So when you go back to install it, if you have this reservoir, just make sure it needs to go in the back like that. If you don't have that reservoir, it only goes one of two ways, and then you'll just need to make sure these studs line up with the holes inside of the frame. All right guys, so we know we got the strut tower installed inside the vehicle. When you receive a kit, it'll come with new hardware for these new top studs, and you'll just put them in place, tighten them down, and we'll go to the next step from there. All right, so we got the strut tower secured with a couple of the top bolts. Now we're gonna put in these bottom bolts. You just need to push up on this lower control arm and they should go right in. All right guys, so we've got these bottom bolts in. Manufactured recommended torque spec is 65 foot-pounds, so we got them up there and snug. So we're just gonna go ahead and check torque. So we've got these bottom bolts for the strut tower, torque to specification. You've already kind of put the bolts in top up here. Go ahead and the next step is going to pull this up and hand tighten these top nuts for the strut tower. And then we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna install this ball joint stud into the steering knuckle and get that going. All right, next up guys, so we've got our a ball joint stud in the steering knuckle. Got it tightened finger tight. We're gonna go ahead and tighten these top bolts, and then we're gonna tighten this ball joint nut on the back side of this steering knuckle, and then we're gonna go ahead and install this tie rod back in, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so we've got the ball joint tight, we've got the tie rod tight. Factory specs for torque on the tie rod is 85. For the ball joint stud, it's 65. So we're gonna go ahead and torque these real quick. Alrighty, so we've got torque specs done on all on the ball joint and the tie rod. Next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna reinstall this sway bar end link, get that all tightened down, and then we're gonna go back and re-secure the ABS wire both on the back of the steering knuckle and as well as the brake bracket. All right, so we've got the ABS line back and secured. So as I mentioned previously, we lowered this down, just brought the sway bar mount loose. We're gonna go ahead and leave that loose so that you can do the other side. And then once that other side is complete, everything that you did here, we're gonna go ahead and tighten that back up. Guys, the last step is to put the tire back on. We're gonna zip that down. Factory torque sets for the Colorado is 140 foot-pounds of torque for the wheels. And the last thing, guys, is make sure once you're done installing this, take it to a certified shop and make sure you get an alignment done. All right, guys, so we just finished up our CBI leveling kit on this 2020 Colorado. Like I said earlier, please remember to take it to a certified shop, get it aligned. You don't want any issues there. As always, like and subscribe our videos. If you have any questions, go ahead and leave it in the comments below. And we appreciate you guys. Thank you.